2016. Why is that significant? That's the last time Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers have won a playoff game. Which is also marking the last time that they were competitive in a playoff game, because it seemed like since then they have been destroyed in every playoff game thereafter. I mean, you can try to convince yourself that Mason Rudolph and that ragtag team last year was competitive. Oh, they brought it within a touchdown there, Tim. Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, they were really competitive when they were down, 31, 17? And they weren't competitive. It was not any competitive football game. Haven't won a playoff game since 2016. Yet the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to go ahead and extend them this year and 2 more years on top of it. So we have 3 more years of Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. Since that 2016 playoff win, take a guess how many different NFL coaches have won a playoff game since Mike Tomlin last has back in 2016. Take a second. I'll give you 5 seconds. If you said, I think 15 sounds reasonable, go higher. Another couple seconds. 20. That sounds higher. 27 different NFL coaches have won a playoff game since Mike Tomlin last has. But Tim, he's never had a losing season. He's done more with less. Big Ben was aging, and look at Kenny Pickett. Obviously, we see he's not very good now, so you can't burn him for that. No, absolutely I can. 27 coaches, and I'm supposed to believe that he's a top 10, top 5 head coach. And whoa, we won a Super Bowl. Yeah, okay, sure. I don't really subscribe to the whole Will Lewis Cowers team, because at the end of the day, in theory, the GM does the team construction and the coach does the coaching. But that was a team that was constructed under previous, front office, that was coached under a previous regime, that had a lot of the same sentiment in it. And Tomlin was what they would call a plug-and-play guy at the head coaching position there. A young guy was able to relate to the players. As he's aged, it has not been very graceful. A bunch of 10-7s, 8-8s, 9-8. Of course, never losing season. Of course, never losing. He screwed himself here by saying the standard is the standard, and I'm going to fire that right back at him. If this is the standard you have set, then it's not good enough to the standard that you had. When I say you had set when you were hired, winning a Super Bowl, competing in playoff games, this recent standard that you have set does not live up to that. Doesn't live up to it. And so if the standard is the standard, the Steelers front office and the ownership should say, you're right, our standard is higher than getting bounced in the first round by any team that has any level of quarterback play. I mean, what are the last quarterbacks that they've beaten in the playoffs? Go ahead and think back to it. We have an A.J. McCarron. We have a Matt Moore. I mean, what do we do? We have an Alex Smith. What are we doing? This is ridiculous to give this guy an extension. And this bothers me on all fronts of the league. And I only understand it for a very select few people. Why do we give extensions before we have to? God, it bothers me so much. And for once, finally, Dallas is actually making a good decision by saying, Dak, you know what? We're going to let you play out your contract. Right? This is a prove-it year. Why wasn't this coming season going to be a prove-it year for Mike Tomlin? Instead, he's going to get 2 more years granted on top of that? For what? For what? What did he show us in the last decade that says, you know what? That's the guy I want at the helm. And here's the main problem that I have, and you've seen it this offseason, is that the front office is clearly making a pivot. Andy Weidel and Omar Khan are making a pivot with this team. Building through the trenches. They're going to run the football. Arthur Smith is a very downhill, run the football style offensive coordinator that, from the passing standpoint, thrives off play action fakes and open holes over the middle that are opened up from running the football. And there's 2 schools of thought when you hear, we're going to build through the trenches and run the ball. And one of them is the more old school where we're just going to run the football, not make a ton of mistakes, and just hope that we're competitive in the fourth quarter. And as a defensive coach, I don't want mistakes. We're competing in the fourth quarter. My defense will go get a stop, and we'll go kick a last-second field goal. We'll narrowly get out. I think Tomlin would rather win all 17 games like that. I truly believe that. And then there's the new school thought, which I think is more Shanahan, McVay, McDaniel, where it's, no, we are definitely built on the run game through the trenches, but it is to set up explosive plays on play action, on reverses, on sweeps, with our quarterback on bootlegs, to get outside the pocket, to be able to throw down the field, to open up holes over the middle. That sets up your play action. The problem is, Andy Weidel, Omar Khan, and now I think the new offensive coordinator Arthur Smith have this new school vision of we're going to run the ball a lot, but then Pat Freiermuth up the seam, George Pickens over the middle. We have slot guys that can go make a play on play action, type plays. We have a quarterback now that can bootleg, especially because he's not that tall. You don't want him in the pocket 50 times a game. Can we get him out on the perimeter a couple times? You have the personnel to do that. You don't have the right coach to do it. You don't have the right coach. You have the guy who wants to line up with a fullback, 2 tight ends, and just let his defense try to win every game 17-14. And it's just not going to work. It's not going to work. I am officially out on this team in terms of this season. I don't think they're a playoff team. I don't think they're a winning football team. I think it's a 7-win team as of right now. Unless they make any sweeping changes. I thought it's an inexcusable decision to sign him to an extension. No, look, if he goes out there and wins the Super Bowl, sure, they look like geniuses. We all know it's not going to happen. But what's wrong with letting that prove-it year actually be a prove-it year? If he succeeds this year, then you sign him. Instead, you sign him early. It's a bad move. They're not going to be good. It's mediocre. Haven't won a playoff game since 2016. 27 different coaches have won a playoff game since Tomlin has. It's ridiculous.
I think there's also a big underlying problem outside of just what you see on the field, more than the product that you see on the field, more than the X's and O's, more than the coaching standpoint, is just the fact that the locker room has been in shambles since 2016 as well. You deal with the Le'Veon Bell drama. You deal with the Antonio Brown drama. You deal with the Big Ben drama, not getting along with anybody and all the new quarterbacks, and you deal with all of that. And now you're dealing with George Pickens, another diva-type receiver. I think there's something to be said, too, that Tomlin has completely lost control of this locker room. And the thing that's annoying about having this problem in Pittsburgh is we're going to put this video out, and we are going to get so much backlash, but it's because of recency bias. If this video would have come out after the Steelers disappointed last year, and after the Steelers disappointed the year before, and after the Steelers disappointed the year before, if it would have came out on the heels of that and on the eve of that, everybody would be calling for Tomlin's job. But it's been a few months.
They had a good offseason, although none of it is due to him.
Now the Steelers' Instagram is just promoting Tomlin everywhere, and all you're seeing is, well, Tomlin's one of the best coaches, and you hear all these different free agents that come to Pittsburgh, and they say, oh, the only reason I came to Pittsburgh, one of the main reasons is because of the coaching and Mike Tomlin, the culture he's built. Well, I feel like that's disintegrated. That has disintegrated, and I think the Steelers are in more trouble than they know. And I think Steelers fans are going to have the harsh reality of waking up to that when it's the middle of the season and you realize you are, average 3-6 through the first half of the season, staring down that brutal back half. It's going to be a hell of a journey, and they are going to get their tires beat off of them, is my prediction.